Hello, welcome to Steel City Business, the Sheffield business podcast. I'm James Marriott. I'll be your host as we explore the vibrant business scene of the glorious city of Sheffield. Now, in each episode, we meet someone from across the Steel City to learn more about them and, of course, their business. I run my own business. It's called Sound Media, and it's all about helping brands to amplify their voice through audio marketing. If you want to find out more, then head to the show notes. There's more information there. And this podcast is supported by the lovely people at The Curious, creative agency in the centre of Sheffield. Now, if you'd like to get in touch with us, maybe to suggest a guest or for any reason, then there are contact details in these show notes, or head to steelcity.business. Right, that's enough of that. Let's meet our guest.
Hello, I'm Steve Adams of Mattress Online. I'm the co-founder and CEO.
Tell us a little bit more about Mattress Online, if you would do, Steve.
We are an e-commerce business that's been going now for just over 20 years. Originally started in a chance meeting at an event, like an awarded event, in 2003 in September. And I there met my co-founder, and we hadn't really met before, but he was in the bed industry. I was in the e-commerce industry, and we got chatting about this fantastic idea to sell mattresses on the internet. I knew nothing about mattresses, and I thought, why would that work? I couldn't get my head around it, especially 20 years ago when e-commerce was very, very new. And he sold me, did me an elevator pitch. I think we were probably on pint 3 or 4 by this point, so I was quite receptive to his pitch. And he let me know that Argos was the biggest bed retailer by volume back in 2003. And I thought, wow, Argos, you can't try a bed. You can certainly buy a bed, but you can't try a bed in Argos. You can't order it on the internet either. Back then, they weren't transactional.
Wow.
Catalogue website. So you had to get in your car, use your own petrol, drive to a store, get a little blue pen, fill out a docket, do all the hard work for Argos, and then wait 2 to 3 weeks for your delivery. So I thought, wow, there is something there. If so many people are buying beds and mattresses remotely, essentially it's a virtual checkout, then it's bound to work. I'm also quite an optimist. So I did literally, that's bound to work. 2 months later, we had a website.
Wow. I mean, like trying to remember days where we didn't just buy pretty much anything online is almost alien now. It's quite hard to kind of think back to those days. Just there, the kind of the memories that you triggered in my mind, thinking about when you used to go to Argos and fill in the little form and the number, and then they type it in and repeat it back to you, and you'd be like, no, that's not what, I've got some of the numbers the wrong way around. You'd have to go and do it again, and you'd wait for it to come down that conveyor belt. I mean, still go to Argos and buy things, but it just feels like such a blast from the past. And 20 years is really not that long ago in so many ways, but the e-commerce world has changed massively. How has your business changed over that time?
We still treat our business as a startup, which is hard to believe because the world is changing so much and technology is changing so much. E-commerce, as well as the tools we use to create the e-commerce website, all our technology is bespoke. So my brother, one of the co-founders, he developed the website originally, and we couldn't buy anything off the shelf. There's no Shopify, for instance. We had to create it, and we're essentially still using that platform now. It's just way better. We've retooled it. We changed the website from the ground up probably every 5 years. We do our own back-end system, and that's helped us move with the times and keep ahead of our competitors. But it's a hard work. So we almost treat ourselves as a technology company. We've got our own development team in Sheffield. We've got our head office in Rotherham, where we store all the mattresses. And if you don't have that mindset that your world is going to change in the next couple of years, and don't think in the future, we wouldn't be here today. And it's probably accelerating now with the AI. We've just seen new AI search results in Google, for instance, and that was only 2 weeks ago. And that's going to change how customers shop dramatically. And we're right at the forefront of that, using AI for productivity, but also to help find our customers.
Yeah. Worlds apart from writing 7 numbers on a little slip of paper and handing it to someone behind a till.
Well, if you think there was no smartphones back then either.
No, it's crazy, isn't it? It really is.
Most of our orders come on a smartphone now. I couldn't have even predicted that. Probably back in 2009, you're still on an old-fashioned handset. But then the iPhone and Apple changed everything. And so we designed our website for an iPhone and Android phone, not for a desktop anymore.
There's a lot of things about the industry that you're in that I'm really interested in, and that I from the outside looking in, it feels like you're in a slightly unique industry. But we'll get onto that in a bit. Just talk me through a little bit about how the business has changed and developed over the years. I know now you've got several sites, and has there been acquisitions and things along the way?
Yeah, absolutely. So the business is incredibly different to when we started. In 2003, there was just me, my co-founder, Steve Kelly, and then my brother, who's essentially a co-founder as well, who wasn't working in the business, but Martin did. He's always been by the side, helping build it. So we've gone from essentially 3 people to now 80 people. And that's been a very organic journey with lots of ups and downs. And the only way to describe it is you just grind away. We didn't have investment, so we've never had any venture capital.
Right.
We've grown it, made profit every year, and that's hard to do. What is quite a backward sector, I'm sure we'll come on to that. It's a very traditional industry, and e-commerce in our industry just didn't really exist in buying beds and mattresses. It was always you go to a shop or you go to Argos. And it's that journey as you gradually build more people, you get the right people. We acquired a shop in 2005, and that was a catalyst for growing the website. A lot of the manufacturers wouldn't supply us without a bricks and mortar site. So I've always had bricks and mortar in my focus, and that hasn't changed at all. So we acquired a store in Rotherham. We call it the Bed Shop, and it's probably the leading bed shop in Rotherham. If you ask most people who live in Rotherham, they'll know it.
Yeah.
And that was the catalyst for us getting companies like Sealy, the world's biggest brand. Yeah. They wouldn't supply us previous to that. Then we ended up getting Sleep Easy. And gradually, we deal with everyone in the industry now. And that's taken time and education. We were almost a black sheep of our sector, where they didn't really want to supply us, but they saw the market changing. When they saw the orders coming in, they became more receptive. We then essentially kept our heads down for the next 10 years, just growing that website, trying to get through the 2008-2009 recession. That was tough. Nearly lost the business then as well. So we're paying suppliers on credit card, for instance, personal credit cards.
Right, gosh.
Yeah. So that takes a lot of tenacity to get through that. But then there's a boom after that. So when customers don't buy a mattress for a while, there's pent-up demand. And we're starting to see that demand coming back now since COVID. With COVID, we brought a lot of business forward, did incredibly well, and then there's been a lull where customers who brought their mattress and their bed, that they're not going to be in market again for another 6-7 years. We're now starting to see that coming through. Cost of living crisis has dampened things as well. It's a very cyclical business, as I'm sure every business is who's been going for 20 years. We had a similar challenge in 2015 again, where we got de-indexed from Google for 50% of our search terms.
Right.
And that was an incredibly poor mistake on our part.
Right.
Through a simple error on the website, which Google didn't like. So we've learned a lot over the years, and we've put procedures in place now, but that only comes with learnings and having the right people on board. So now, going from 2 people on day one to having 80 people, and a lot of those people are in the digital side of the business, where we stay ahead of the game and our competitors. But the business wouldn't be where it is now without having the right operations. Okay. So we're set here now in our warehouse in Rotherham, and we've got about 16,000 mattresses sat behind us.
Good grief.
Yeah, we're probably the largest stockholder in the UK. And that's taken time as well. That's a lot of cash tied up.
Yeah.
And over the years, we just gradually put more profit back into product. And we have roughly 4 to 5 weeks worth of stock at any one point.
Right.
Which is why we did so well in COVID.
Yeah.
Because we were sat when the factory shut down and we couldn't get supply. We had mattresses to cover us for probably about 6 weeks.
Right, okay. When we finish chatting, I need to go and have a look in your warehouse, because that just the image of what 16,000 mattresses looks like blows my mind. I can't get my head around that. I'd like to come back to what happened in 2015 at some point later on in the interview, if we can do. I want to ask you about your journey, and I specifically mean you, because you said, quite interested at the beginning, you said you didn't know anything about mattresses at the beginning of this. This is not, you weren't born with a passion for mattresses. If anyone's born with a passion for mattresses. But outsider looking into the industry that you're in, I would think, okay, mattresses are quite big, they're quite heavy, they're a size at which, annoyingly, they won't fit in a car. They're certainly not the cheapest of things for people to buy, and they're not a regular purchase. Once someone's bought a mattress, they'll keep it for 5 years, 10 years, whatever that looks like. So repeat business is very slow. So I would think, what a crazy industry for anyone to decide to go into that. What's your journey and your, I'm going to say, like, relationship with mattresses, and that sounds really weird, but your relationship with the product that you sell, how's that kind of changed and developed over the years?
That's a long story. So I've always wanted to work for myself since I was a little kid. Yeah, I've never actually worked at a corporate company.
Right.
So I have had jobs. I can't remember the last interview I had was probably 25 years ago. But I was always good with people, always good with sales, good communicator, lots of common sense. So I did some sales jobs, but I loved tech probably more than sales.
Right.
And I ended up working for an app company, wireless application protocols, in London at the time, and absolutely loved it, and essentially started my own agency on the back of that. So I encouraged, not poached, but encouraged a few of the team there to join me. We set up our own e-commerce agency, which was very new then. So I don't remember the Matrix and the flip down phone.
Oh yeah.
So we were creating apps for that when we were working for this other agency. And we wanted to do e-commerce more than that. We thought that was the future. And that was in 98. I'm showing my age now.
Okay.
And we used some things like FTP upload. It was very, very early on. We got some great small businesses. Some people were prepared to take a punt. And yeah, I can trade on the internet. I can sell my product on the internet. And we did some brilliant work. And then, for anyone who's old enough to remember, there was a .com recession. Mm-hmm. At the end of 99/2000, and my business pretty much dried up overnight. Right. So all these brave entrepreneurs who said, "Yeah, put my business on the internet, and I want to sell on the internet," they pulled the plug. They said, "This internet thing's not going to work, is it, Steve?"
Wow. And
we're in trouble. And I managed to sell the business through the network in London. We ended up selling to a branding agency, very, very corporate style company, but quite small. They wanted the team, not the business.
Right.
And we were introduced on day one as the IT department.
Right.
And I thought, oh dear, I've made a mistake here. But they paid really great salaries. I was able to have my weekends back, which I can't remember having a weekend off for the 3 years prior to that. But I didn't enjoy it. It wasn't me. So I spent 3 years looking for another opportunity. But I didn't want to go agency side. I wanted something that I could earn passive income from, something that I knew it was going to be e-commerce, definitely.
Yep.
I love e-commerce, still do. And that opportunity came in mattresses after 3 years of keeping my eyes open. And what I liked about it was everybody needs one. The Argos story cemented why it would work on the internet. Yeah, there was no question about that. I knew if Argos can make it work, we can make it work.
Yeah.
That long purchase cycle is a challenge. But every 7 years, you got 50 odd million people back in market.
Yep.
And it is fairly recession-proof. Even in tough times, if your mattress is uncomfortable, you're not going to put up with that. You are going to change it. And I like the fact it's difficult. So to actually do it, there was a high barrier of entry, and there still is today. I think that's key to getting a business to work. If you can solve one of those big problems, you take out a lot of your potential competition. And one of my very first jobs was in transport. I was a salesman for a courier company called CityLink.
Yeah.
So I knew the courier industry fairly well, still had contacts there. And we were bringing in imported mattresses from Italy, and they were boxed, rolled up, very similar to an Emma or a Simba. We just didn't market it like Emma or Simba, but I knew how to get it delivered. I knew about third-party fulfillment, so we had a warehouse that we didn't own or anything. We just got someone to store it for us. They received the goods, they shipped them for us, and we just simply pushing bits of paper, literally from my bedroom. And it just worked. We did £10,000 in the very first month in January 2004 on a relatively high margin because there wasn't much competition.
Yeah.
So the average order value was probably higher back then than it is today,
right,
with inflation.
Okay.
Yeah. They're quite discerning customers shopping on the internet at that time.
Yeah.
And it just rolled from there. And it wasn't. I did actually start a cleaning company at the same time as well, as to earn a salary, because I didn't have. Yeah, I gave up my high-paying job to do this mattress thing, but we didn't know if it was going to work, so we couldn't take a salary. And I joined another friend of mine who wanted to start a cleaning company, and I helped him out on that.
Right.
And it was, a lot of hard work, but very, very rewarding. I was getting up at 5 a.m, going out cleaning. And then I'll come back, put a suit on, and go and do some new business for the cleaning company. Come back, write some content for the website, take some calls, process some orders, then go back out cleaning in the evening. And that lasted probably about 6 months. I couldn't carry on doing both. It was just, complete burnout. So I had to pick one. And then thankfully I picked the right one. But the cleaning company went on to do very well as well.
Good. Okay.
Yeah, that was left in a good place. We incorporated the business in 2004. So prior to that, we were running as a partnership.
Yeah.
We still couldn't afford to pay any salaries then.
Right.
And I was still living off credit cards a little bit. Yeah. And then I think it must have been about August, so nearly a year after I met Steve Kelly, we finally had enough money in the bank to pay a salary. Right. Yeah. And we get paid on the 12th at Mattress Online, and it's a strange date. That was the first day we had enough money to pay ourselves. And it's remained the 12th.
And it's still the 12th now. Brilliant. Oh, that's so nice.
And I forget to tell that story to some of our new starters. And sometimes they come to me and say, why can't I get paid at the start of the month or the end of the month? Why is it on the 12th? And when I tell the story, they understand.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah. Just point them to this podcast episode.
Absolutely.
They can get it from there. How has, I'm going to say the mattress industry, but I guess I mean the sleep industry. How have you seen it change? Because it feels like something that's changed a lot. Awareness of, kind of the importance of sleep seems to be something that wasn't being talked about very much 20 years ago, 25 years ago, 15 years ago, 10 years ago, I don't know. But certainly, I remember when I was a kid, a mattress was just a really functional thing. Like, the mattress is bust, did you just buy a new one? There was do you want big or small? There wasn't a lot of choice. Now, the mattress industry is mind-blowing, and I moved house at the start of this year and did a lot of mattress shopping, and it's insane how much choice there is now, how many elements there are to consider, how many springs can be fitted inside something that's still relatively small. It feels like something there's been like a revolution, is what I would say, and again, I'll make that point from the outside looking in. What's it been like within the industry?
It's been an incredible journey. It's a very different market in a good way. Yeah. So you're absolutely right that if you roll back probably even 5 years, sleep wasn't talked about, and mattresses, so it was very rare to connect product and sleep. Totally different now. Our manufacturers are talking about it. Health podcasts are talking about it.
Yeah.
If you ask any longevity expert now, how do you live a long life? First thing is get a good night's sleep, and that's free.
Yeah.
And it's so pleasing to see. I've got 3 sleep trackers. I track my sleep religiously.
Right.
We've got a sleep expert called James Wilson, aka the Sleep Geek. He hates me tracking my sleep because he says it creates anxiety. But if you're a numbers person like I am, and quite competitive, it gives me the right data to make a difference. I think what people are understanding now, and the industry still has an awful lot of work to do, but excuse the pun, but sleep is the bedrock of health. If you have a good night's sleep, you are going to wake up feeling refreshed. You're going to choose better food to eat in the day. You will have the energy to exercise properly and you get your nutrition right, get your exercise right, it's a win. Yeah. And sleep is a key facet of that. And I know I don't get enough sleep, and I know what to do.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so sometimes life does get in the way, but my quality of sleep is very good. That was never discussed 20 years ago. It just wasn't in my radar. And now everything we do is all about, will this product help you sleep better? So whether it's a pillow, and we're selling more accessories and sleep aids now than we ever have. Yeah. The pillow has become an incredibly important part of any sleep experience.
Thinking about what I said about how mattresses have changed, pillows, but just there was no choice in pillows just a few years ago, wasn't there? And now it's incredible the range of stuff that's there. Has that translated into how much people are willing to spend on mattresses?
Yes, absolutely. People are spending more money on mattresses,
right.
And not just inflation. I think the internet and the marketing around some of the more consumer-orientated companies like Emma and Simba have raised the profile and the importance of mattresses and the expectation of price. But no, people, the more they understand that a good night's sleep helps in so many ways, they're prepared to spend more. And there's also a better understanding. I think the internet helps with this a great deal, because they can research a lot more.
Yeah.
So there's an understanding more of what goes into a mattress, and what makes a good mattress and how mattresses differ. And our National Bed Federation, which is like the body that looks after our industry, they've done many, many surveys over the years, and they can see the amount of people that are researching on the internet for a mattress. I think it's close to 95% now of all consumers have a touch point with the internet, and probably including social as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, half of people still do go to shops, which is one reason why we are opening shops and we have shops.
Yeah.
And I think that will grow over time. We'll have more and more people buying on the internet, especially as the Gen Zs and even the millennials now getting their own houses.
Yeah.
That their first thought is to go online first, and if we can convince them to buy online, that's even better. But yeah, it's really reassuring for me to see that people are focusing on the quality of their sleep and the quantity, understanding that a mattress helps them deliver that.
So companies, I mean, I don't need to name them, but you know, the big online mattress retailers. I suppose Simba's probably the one that I'll mention that seem to sponsor quite a lot of TV shows and things like that. Is that a good thing for you in terms of them raising the profile of like the sleep industry? That's part one of the question. But the other thing is, obviously, what they've kind of done is made this whole kind of, you know, buy a mattress, try it for a month, 3 months. I think when I was looking, there was a company that did a 12-month, 365 days you can keep your mattress for and still send it back. What impact does that have on what you do?
We've had to change how we operate because of that. I've got a lot of time for these new companies. They've done a great job of simplifying what is a complicated sector.
Yeah.
What I try to do, and I did this on day one when I first wrote my first bit of product content. I know I used to write all the content on the website, even though I can't spell. And I wrote it from a consumer's perspective because I didn't know the industry. My business partner, Steve Kelly, knew everything about mattresses. I took the information, took the product content, and I thought, well, that makes no sense to me. And we rewrote it, and we still do that today very well. And that's what Simba have done, and other companies like that really well, is to simplify, the buying experience and also how they communicate those benefits. And they have raised awareness. And it's been a big change to our sector. They've probably taken 20 to 25% of the market, potentially.
Right.
Certainly online market.
Yeah.
But I embraced it. As a company, we were the first ones to sell Simba on our website.
Right.
So we don't see them as a competitor, we see them as partners. And it's a big enough market that you can both earn a good living out of that. And it helps bring traffic to the website because they have, especially the younger demographic, they have raised the awareness of mattresses with people that wouldn't have thought about it in the past. Yeah. Hard to make money doing that, so they need the volume. We tried dabbling in TV advertising, and very hard to understand if it worked or not.
Right.
Yeah. Whereas with our paid acquisition strategy, we can get a very accurate return on investment. So yeah, and then going on to the trial, we did instigate a 60-night comfort trial about 2 years ago now, to combat that, because it was a common question. It is to have that no risk purchase is a massive benefit to consumers. So we had to move our business model. We do it slightly differently, is that we don't offer money back. We make sure they get the right mattress.
Okay.
So if they're not happy with it, it's always a phone call. We chat to them and say, right, what don't you like about this one? And we'll give them completely free of charge a new mattress. That's more appropriate for them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
And that seems to work really well. And it's very hard to understand the numbers, but we think our exchange rate and return rate is about a fifth of what other companies would be.
Right.
Because we encourage people to try the mattress for at least 30 days, and sometimes it takes your back and your body that time just to adjust. We check what pillow they have. It could be they're using a 2-year-old feather pillow or just polyester pillow. It's just not right for the new mattress. So there is sometimes ways that you can help them support. We don't want to be changing too many because it doesn't help our profit, but also it's not great for the environment. But I think it's also important that people have a good night's sleep.
Yeah.
So I think we've managed that in a very effective way. Yeah.
Okay.
And we do get some manufacturer support as well.
Right. Okay.
With that as well to help with the costs.
I know this is fast turning into just a podcast about mattresses, but I find it really fascinating. So the knock-on effect of this is that refurbished mattresses are obviously a thing now, where maybe 10 years ago the idea of buying a mattress that somewhere along the line someone else has slept on it maybe was a bit of a creepy, kind of slightly weird thought that wouldn't kind of be the case. But and you have an outlet store now, don't you, in Sheffield? So there's been a kind of a change in mindset on that. One of the things that I remember reading something about at some point in the last couple of years is about, this is obviously less relevant with the way that you do your returns policy, but some of the online places, the amount of wastage of mattresses that are sent back that end up obviously not being refurbished and in one way or another recycled, thrown away, seems to be quite a major kind of environmental impact from that. What's your take on that?
To take the refurbished mattresses first, that's a hard thing to get consumers to buy into even today.
Right.
We have a lot of sustainable mattresses that are easy to recycle at the end of life, but they cost a lot more money to make a sustainable mattress from clean recycled materials. And by that, I don't mean from a mattress that's already been slept on, just through the circular economy. It increases the price to the consumer, and we've found there's only a certain amount of money they're prepared to pay for that. Everyone says 100%, I'll buy the sustainable one, until they realise, it's twice the price? Okay, maybe not. So we kind of hit a roadblock with consumer demand on that. Yeah. We can do certain things, and National Bed Federation, they now have a scoring system for each mattress. So it makes our buying a lot better, so we know how sustainable a mattress is, what components they'd be using, and importantly, how easy it is to dispose at the end of life. And when I say dispose, it's all our mattresses are recycled, 100% landfill avoidance. Yeah. There are some companies now that are refurnishing these. We don't sell those. Not yet anyway, because I think it's hard to get the consistency right. So especially if you are creating a fresh mattress from recycled components, you're taking springs from one, cleaned. There's some companies that do a really great job on technology on cleaning materials to put back into mattresses, and they're potentially cleaner than the virgin material that was supplied originally, because they've gone through a very recent process. Quite often the cover will be brand new as well. But to sell that to the customer without being disingenuous, I think, is an uphill struggle at the moment. Yeah. Where there are some refurnished mattresses where the core, they just change the cover and change the core. So the core stays the same, a new cover. Yep. And that you have to sell it cheap. It's almost a different ecosystem. Yeah. A different market, and we're not really in that market. Okay. Yeah. We don't want to be cannibalizing our own brand new sales with cheap product that's essentially secondhand. Yeah. But there is a market for that, and I think it's important, and you will see them potentially on eBay, either from the brands themselves or through auction houses. Yeah. Which with our recycled mattresses, if they are too good to send for dismantling, we will send them to an auction house and they'll go to a second home, either through a second-hand store. We give some away to charity as well. Right, okay. Yeah. And some of our transport damages, for instance. And we do get some, not many now. We're very experienced at packing a mattress so it doesn't get damaged. They'll go into our Sheffield store to be sold as nearly new, but they've not been slept on. Right, okay, that makes sense. Yeah. Good to know that the kind of
clarification on that as well. So thank you for that. This has led me to thinking: how did we ever before mattress? I guess are most mattresses kind of mattress in a box now. Is that what most of them do? The kind of vacuum packing?
No. I can only speak for us. About 28% of what we sell is now rolled and vacuum packed.
So most are still old fashioned,
full size, and
fashioned.
Yeah. And if you want a natural mattress that has no memory foam, for instance, there's a big market for that. Yeah. With open coil springs, which is the most popular spring, it's hard to vacuum pack that.
Yeah.
So it's quite a niche market for good quality vacuum packed product.
Right. Okay. A vacuum packed mattress, by the way, is also a borderline weapon. So I did end up buying a vacuum packed mattress, and obviously it comes wrapped up in a lot of cellophane, and you kind of cut that, and then it expands in the space of less than a second. Anything that's in its path is getting destroyed.
Yeah.
Fascinating to watch it kind of just suddenly pop out to full size, but thankfully I got out of the way just quick enough before it sent me flying. What about the future then?
That's a very good question. It might seem like it, but there's not a lot of innovation in our industry, not from a product perspective. It's almost like an iPhone now, where it's just a little iteration on something.
Right. Yeah.
Some of the biggest innovations I see coming are in how you sleep. So motion beds, for instance. America is far further ahead than us with motion beds, where 40% of every bed sold is an adjustable.
Yeah.
That helps your blood circulation, helps with snoring. Yeah. It's not for mobility in the States, it's a lifestyle choice.
Yeah.
We need to get there in the UK. That's the next level to help you sleep better, is by making sure your position's correct and you've got the right blood flow. Raising your feet ever so slightly, and it's only a couple of degrees, and even your head. If you do snore, it'll be a revelation for you.
Just on that, why do you think the UK is further behind than the US on that? Is it a price point thing?
Partly price point. Product is generally 3 to 4 times more expensive in the US. So I did go out there on a retail research trip, to see how are they doing it different. As we're opening more stores, and it's quite renowned in our industry that in the States they're just very good salespeople.
Yeah.
It's a career out there, whereas over here, unfortunately, it's not always seen as a career.
Right.
And yeah, they're just so much more better at marketing. It's terrible marketing in a way. It's really cheesy. Graphically, it's like from the late 2000s. But they understand their consumers and they just get it right.
Yeah.
Over here, we just don't think out of the box enough. And an adjustable bed over here is for somebody who's getting on a bit, a pensioner, or somebody who's got mobility issues.
Right.
And you won't see that marketed unless you're a specialist store in the States. It will be probably you can eat and watch TV in bed much easier, but also you will sleep better out there. And they've just got the economies of scale as well for those, because we don't sell them. To import a motion frame is expensive at the moment.
Right. That's interesting.
You're not selling enough of them. So that side of it, I think, is going to grow. There's a trend back to natural mattresses and having sort of different material going into that, into mattresses that are not memory foam. That's quite interesting at the moment. So we're now just launching a range of traditional tufted mattresses that have hidden tufts. So tufts are where you have the buttons, essentially.
Yeah.
And the younger demographic hate them. They just don't understand it. So now we've got the same technology, and the mattresses will last a little bit longer with tufts. You can control the firmness a bit better. The tighter the tuft is, the firmer the mattress will be. But now it's hidden with a nice quilted top. So there's things like that are going on to cater for a different demographic that's now coming through and buying a good quality mattress. And other things that we're trying to push, sleeping in a bigger bed, for instance. So if you can afford it, you should be, if you're a couple, you should be in a Super King.
Right.
So you get 3 for each, which is the same size as your bed when you were a child.
Yeah.
So as you've grown up and started sharing a bed with a partner, generally you're sleeping on a smaller sleep surface than you were when you were 10. There's lots of innovation around how do we make that work. There's a slight trend, I think, back towards divan beds as well, where they fell out of favour about 5 years ago in terms of bed frames. But in terms of technology, there's a lot of gimmicks sometimes, which we don't generally buy into.
Right.
So unless we can prove that a new cover actually does what it says on the tin, and there's evidence to prove that, we generally won't list it.
Okay.
That's where a lot of the innovation is coming at the moment, is is trying to have authentic new covers that will help you keep cool and stay cool throughout the night.
Yeah.
And that is quite hard to do.
What about the future for the business then? Where do you see the business going? We've talked about looking back over the last 20 years. If you were to look 20 years into the future, what would you like the business to look like?
I'm a firm believer in the high street, even though we're an internet company.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So we have just opened a 4th store in Doncaster.
Right.
And it's the first store we've opened from scratch.
Right.
We've got a store in Skipton, Sheffield, and obviously our Rotherham store we spoke about. All 3 of those were acquisitions.
Right.
This is the first one we've done as a Mattress Online brand, and we've been able to brand it to us right from scratch, and it looks fantastic. Obviously, I'm clearly biased, but probably the best bed store in the country at the moment.
Yep.
We've taken all the clutter away. It's a bit like an Apple experience, and there's a bed for everyone. 52 beds on there. We've managed to get the right price point, the right comfort feel throughout it all. There's no reason you will not leave that store without finding a mattress that's right for you.
Right.
We'll do that. Repeat, and repeat. And we are just agreeing a site in West Yorkshire. So
okay.
The first step over that side of Yorkshire.
Right.
And we are focused on Yorkshire to begin with, but within 5 years I'd hope to see somewhere between 10 and 20 stores, which help with brand recognition, but also with Google.
Yep.
Google love the local story, and if you do a Google search for anything, the local stores are coming up just below the paid ads, and that's quite valuable real estate. And we're tracking about a 15% uplift on online sales when we open a store in a territory.
That's interesting.
So there's a win-win there.
Yeah, yeah.
So just people know it's there, and it adds confidence when you're shopping online and you can see, oh, there's a store in my town or a store nearby. If anything does go wrong, then I can actually go and speak to somebody.
Yeah, makes sense. Is there a vision in your head at some point for this to be a nationwide thing?
Yes. Yeah, I might be retired by then. The rest of the team might be doing it.
Sounds like hard work.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, there's Dreams and Bensons, so they do really well. They are the biggest in our sector. So yeah, never say never. We've got nationwide delivery now, so there's no reason why we can't support with our next day delivery message. And we are 7 days a week. So yeah, we could open a store in London and you can shop in there on the Sunday and have it delivered on Monday.
Yeah, awesome. And
that instant gratification is quite important now. Amazon Prime's changed how we think about things.
Yeah, yeah.
And to have, just because it's a mattress, shouldn't mean you can't have that as well.
Yeah, yeah. You mentioned earlier on about something that went very wrong in 2015. So we come back to that. So I do want to ask you about that. But then, I guess anything else that you want to tell us about in terms of things that have gone wrong, things that haven't gone according to plan, things that you've learned along the way in your journey of the last 20 years?
Yeah. So we'll start on in 2015. So we were testing a mobile website. It was an M.dot website back then. And it didn't work particularly well, but it was okay. There's always test and learns when you're creating new technology and launching new products. But one of our coders made a simple mistake and deleted a header tag on our homepage. And a header tag is essentially, it contains code. And if there's not the end tag there for the code, basically what it did, it opened up our website, every single page to Google.
Right.
And Google did not like it. It didn't understand what was going on, so instead of trying to figure it out, it delisted about 50% of our search terms. And what was terrible is it took us about 3 weeks to notice. We were wondering why the revenue was going down. We didn't have the right checks in place.
Right.
We fixed that now. We are very KPI driven, and it just gets better and better. But if there's any advice that I've got to anyone is make sure you have the right tools in place to understand how your business health. I learned that the hard way. It cost us a lot of money. But we rebuilt from there.
I mean, weirdly, it sounds like actually, there was a positive in terms of, you learned very quickly about things that you probably needed to change. But that day where I guess you sit down in a meeting and someone says, we think we found the problem, like, what was that? What's that like when you kind of realise that something so simple has caused such a major issue that's going to take you such a long time to sort out?
I think it's partly trait in me, but also trait in seasoned business owners, is that you become quite stoic.
Right.
You can't have so many challenges and react to them. You just got to, okay, that's happened, right, how do we get out of it?
Yeah.
If you flare up and it's like a red rag to a bull, that does nobody any favours. And it was a mistake. So you just got to think pragmatically and, right, how do we get this back and how do we get it back better? And we did. We built it back better, and we had our search engine listings were better afterwards. And it didn't take long to get relisted again. Yeah, I guess you call it stoicism. You can't fix it. You can't go back. You can't rewind the clock. So you just put your best foot forward and figure out the simplest way to fix the problem, the quickest.
Okay.
And take things in little bits of chunks. Yeah. So we just divide it up. Right, we need to do this, this, and this, and this, which is going to have the most impact in the quickest amount of time, and we'll put all our effort into that.
Does the person that made that mistake still work for you?
No.
Okay. I shall ask no more. Brill. Well, it's been an absolute pleasure to chat. You probably figured along the way that I find the industry that you're in kind of bizarrely really interesting, and I just think the journey that the sleep industry's been on, but particularly mattresses and just how things have changed, is really, really interesting. It's been great seeing your progress over the last few years, and long may it continue. Thank you for your time today.
Thank you.
Thanks very much for listening to this episode of Steel City Business. It's been really lovely to have you with us. Now, you know how this works. If you've enjoyed it and you want in on future episodes, then just follow us on your podcast app or on YouTube. The show is very active on LinkedIn. Just search for Steel City Business and come and connect with me as well while you're at it. Big thank you to The Curious for helping make this podcast happen. There's loads more about the show at steelcity.business, and you can get in touch by emailing james@steelcity.business. And hey, if you're in business in Sheffield, then, well, why not put yourself forward as a guest for a future episode? And of course, we're always open for a good chat about how audio marketing could work for your brand. Until next time, thanks for listening.